Hello and good morning, good afternoon and a very good evening to you. The good whip of a tube. Hope for today, hope you're feeling grand and all is well in your world. Hello there everybody today. Everybody, it's not going to be a particularly long video today because I'm struggling quite a lot in here. And I just can't get going. I'm not sleeping very well, and because I'm not sleeping very well, I'm finding it really hard to be kind of cohesive. And kind of like together. I don't know how many times I've tried to do this video today already, and I'm really struggling. So it's not going to be a particularly long video today, everybody. So please, forgive me for that one. I would like to do a longer video, talking in a bit more detail about certain things, and also the video I wanted to do today, I can't do it. It's just I'm not in the right kind of my mind isn't in the right frame. So I do apologise for my. The way I am at this point in time, everybody. I do apologise immensely. It's just, it's not where I want to be. I'm not enjoying this at all. But you know, such is life. Sometimes it throws things at you, doesn't it? And then you kind of have to kind of sit and deal with it. Anyway, so I do apologise. Like I say, it's not gonna be a long video today. I just wanted to kind of do this video and talk about. The title, and just have a bit of a natter about it, really. I mean, ideally, I'd like to kind of talk a bit longer about it and kind of do certain bits and pieces, but I'm really struggling. I'm really struggling to get my head straight, and I can't. I'm finding it really hard to be cohesive. Like I say, everything's kind of like, and I'm not sleeping, so I kind of I've got kind of I'm not able to think very clearly right now. So I do apologise, everybody, but hopefully. This video will be quite, hopefully there'll be something you can kind of take away from this, because, and this video is called my top 3 favourite solid state amps. My top 3 solid state amps. I will get there in a minute. Because I do only have 3. The 3 amps I'm going to talk about today are like the amps that, as long as I've got them, I'm happy bunny. You know what I mean? I'm not particularly looking for anything else, but I'm always willing to try other things, but these amps I'm going to talk about are like my 3 favourite amps in the world, like bar none. You know what I mean? It really is kind of I am home. I found those amps and I'm happy bunny. So that's what this video is about. And also I wanted to talk about because the value of these things is insane. Especially 2 of them. I think like I say this one here is probably the most expensive, but the value of the other 2 is just unreal. So that's what this video is about today. So it's not going to be particularly long. I just want to have a bit of a quick natter about it, and talk about why I would recommend them, and and stuff like that. Really. So the first amp I want to talk about is the very infamous by now Boss Katana. So it's not on shop, but it is just there. Well, the 50 watts there, the 100 watts downstairs. And I also have Mark II on the way. Can't wait. I really cannot wait. I don't know how they've made it any better because it was already amazing, but I really cannot wait to find out, and we will find out together if it is actually better. Did that all rhyme? I don't know. I'm so tired I don't remember. Anyway, anyway, where are we? Yeah, we were here. Oh yes, we were. Ha. So anyway, number 1 is, kind of number 1 on this list, I'd say, because they're not in any kind of order or anything of why I love them the most, although the last amp I'm going to talk about holds more of a special place to me than the other 2. Anyway, so number 1 today I'm going to talk about is Boss Katana. Value for money, awesome sound, features everything. It's just got it all. The Boss Katana is absolutely... It's one of those amps that's not overhyped. You know what I mean? It deserved the hype. You know what I mean? Everyone was raving about the Boss Katana and how good it was, and it really was that good. And it really is that good. And like I said, I am really excited to get my filthy little grubby hands on the Mark II, because I'm so curious to how they've made it better. It's like, how can you make that better? You know what I mean? Because the Boss Katana was, in its original form, Mark I was absolutely stunning. So the idea of it's better is it blows my mind. So yeah. The thing is, the Boss Katana is just it's just so good. The sounds are so good. You can gig with them. You can play them at home. They record brilliantly. There are a few things I don't like about it, which I'll talk about. But the value for money on that thing is absolutely amazing. And now I think with the advent of the Mark II, I think the Mark I's price second hand will go down even more, if you know what I mean. So, you know, they're already quite readily available, you know, for fairly cheap, you know, second hand. But I do think with the, you know, with the inclusion of Mark II now, Mark II coming out, I do think that, you know, the original Mark I's will go down even more in price and they'll be even more affordable. But they're just amazing. And the Katana, one thing I want to talk about the Katana is because it stands up really well in a recording aspect and at home and at like jam sessions, but gigging it live is just unreal. You know, that amp pushes so much air and is so powerful that it's just amazing. I've used 412 cabs my entire kind of like musical playing life. You know, I've always loved 412s. And when I hurt my back, which is back, my back is back, so I can actually take my bigger cabs out to gigs now. But when I hurt my back, I was looking to downsize. I was looking for a combo that would give me the same amount of space filled as a 412, but in a smaller, lighter package. And I started off, the first amp I tried was a high watt, max watt amp. And that was okay, but it was a little bit wispy and sometimes it would get lost in the mix and it wouldn't quite do it. And I had that to start with, and I eventually got rid of that and went back to my my Marshall. And then I tried the PV Bandit, and that was really good. But there was something about the mid-range that wasn't quite right. There's a mid-range in the PV Bandit that just didn't quite appeal to me. You know, the PV Bandit is one of the best amps in the world, but to me it was like, it wasn't quite there mid-range wise. It was a very strong kind of clunky low mid, and that I couldn't get rid of, and I wanted it a little bit, you know, less like that, and I couldn't get rid of that. So sadly that kind of like didn't work out. And then I tried the orange CR60, and the CR60 was the closest I got up until the Katana, because the CR60 really behaved the way I wanted it to, but it was lacking a little bit in power. You had to have that thing gunned to get it to kind of like sit where you needed it to sit. And that always worried me because it would always get really, really hot, and I was afraid I was going to burn it out before the gig ended. It never happened, but it did get really, really hot because you'd always have to run the volume about 7 or 8. You know what I mean? It had to be, yeah, especially over a drum kit. It had to be quite, you know, you had to, you know, crank that beast up to kind of get it to kind of really do it. But it did fill the space, not quite as much as I wanted it to. I wanted a little bit more because I'm greedy, and I kind of, because again, gigging 412s all your life, you kind of miss that when it's not there. And I was kind of like missing that, and I was like, you know, it sounds good, it feels good, but it's just not. It's like, you know, if like 100% was like, you know, back to my half stacks, the CR60 was about 85% there. You know what I mean? It really was. It was close, but it wasn't quite, and there was always something lacking in it. You know what I mean? In its presence. You know what I mean? It was really awesome, but it wasn't quite there. And as a result, I kind of like, I need to keep looking somewhere else. And then my friend put up his Boss Katana 50 for sale, and I bought that because I had heard the Katana was amazing, and I was like, well, I want to see for my own eyes, and I could afford it. I got the 50 for a really good second-hand price. I forget what it was now, but and as soon as I plugged into it, I mean, I live streamed it, and when I plugged into the Katana for the first time, I was like, wow, okay, yeah, okay, I get it. It's definitely not overhyped. That is actually really amazing, and that was just straight in. And the next day when I plugged my pedal board into it, or did I do it in the live stream? I don't remember now, but like, it literally took me about 5 minutes to dial my pedal board into the Katana. I used the acoustic setting for my pedal board, and it took me like 5 minutes to dial it in, and I was like, that's it. That is it. And it was weird because it was like literally, because I only had the 50, it was literally like playing through it felt like playing through a half stack. You know what I mean? It felt like it filled the space. It had the breath, I want to call it. But like, you know, it just filled the space. And I was like, how can something so small and so light be so loud and big? Because it was just huge. And there is actually a version of me playing Voodoo Child on this channel somewhere, just using the 50. And it's it's not mic'd up or whatever. It's just in a pub, over an acoustic drum kit and a 410 orange bass rig. You know, and it just sits there. It just goes, yeah, I can do this. And I had the volume that night on 10 o'clock. You know, so about kind of like, if you're looking at it, kind of like that's off, that's 9 o'clock. It was about there. And it was just like, if I turn it up any louder than that, it's just going to start drowning stuff out. It was just shocking on the 50 watt mode. And I was happy as a sandboy. I was so happy. I was like, that's it. You know, and the thing is too, if you're on the kind of the circuit that I'm on gigging wise, which is the pub circuit, where you kind of crammed into a corner, sometimes trying to get a 412 cab or a 212 cab into a space can be really hard work, especially if you've got a full drum kit. So the Katana 50 just covered all those bases. It had the big fat sound that I wanted, the sound projected, it had the breath, it was just perfect. And it came along, I say, at a time where I'd hurt my back, so I needed something lighter to kind of give my back a rest. And it was perfect. It was absolutely perfect timing. And I've just realised how dark it is. It's a really grim, rainy day today. But like it just filled that space absolutely perfectly. And again, I would recommend the Katana to anyone. I really would. I would highly recommend the Katana because it just is stunning. The sound quality, the inbuilt effects, plugging straight into it, the distortions, the cleans. Even plugging an acoustic guitar into it, you can get this awesome sound out of it, which blows my mind. Boss nailed that amp. There are a few things I don't like about it though, and I will talk about that in a sec. But it really is stunning. It really is stunning. Okay, so let's talk negatives here, because let's balance out the positives. As much as the Katana is perfect, perfection doesn't exist, and we all know that. So I do want to kind of like be a bit devil's advocate-y in this video and talk about some of the things I don't like. Okay, so some of the things I don't like is in the 50, the speaker, although it's amazing and I do love it, has a frequency, and it's a high frequency that's always there in the speaker, and I don't know, you can't get rid of it. I've tried, and it's just in the speaker. It comes from the speaker, but there's this high end noise that sits above, not everything, but like, it sits above things, especially when you're soloing. There's like a high end, it's not a fizz, but it's a high end kind of frequency that I don't like, and that's rectified with the 100. The Katana 100 doesn't have it. It's got a better speaker and it doesn't have it at all, so that's not really, it's not an issue. But the 50 is amazing, but there's a certain thing in the speaker, and I don't know why it's there, and it really bugs me because the problem is, once I've heard it, I can't not hear it. So I try and zone my brain out from it, but as soon as I hear it, I lock into it, and it can take me out of the moment if I'm not careful. So that is one of my little kind of like the shortcomings of the 50 is like its speaker is it can be a little bit shrill and fizzy in certain frequencies that aren't particularly nice, and it kind of it can act as a distraction, which is definitely something you don't want if you're trying to play live and you just kind of want to get lost in it. So that's kind of like one of the things that I don't particularly like about it. Another thing I don't like, and this is going to be a very short list, is the line out on the 100. I do love DIing guitar amps. I prefer the DI because you get a cleaner sound, and then also you don't have a mic in front of the cabinet. And I've always had a bit of a thing for mics in front of cabs because I like to go back and forward to the cab to get different levels of feedback and let things sustain and get different kind of sounds. I like to be interactive with the cabinet. When there's a mic in the way, that can sometimes get in the way, if that makes any sense. And there has been times in the past where in the moment I've wanted to go back to my cab to get certain feedback, and I'll knock the mic over, or I'll knock it into the speaker cloth, or knock it out the way. and you've got to reposition it, and that's never cool. So I do like DIing. So when I got the 100, I was really, really like excited to try the line out on it, and I was really disappointed because it didn't really sound that good. It was fierce. It was shrill. It wasn't very natural sounding. You know what I mean? It didn't sound like the amp. Maybe one day I might show you that actually, because it'd be quite interesting to show you, because I love DIing. I really like DI. I mean, I use a mic on the cabin here, but that's because if I use different amps that don't have a DI, I like the idea of having a mic. But invariably, I prefer to DI. It's just a cleaner way of doing it, and I've always enjoyed it. Especially on my kind of like, you know, the last amp I'm going to talk about. Anyway, so yeah, I was really disappointed with the line out on the 100. I was just like, meh. It just sounds really shrill and false and just wrong. It just I went from my PA to just the inbuilt speaker, and I was like, it's not there. Like the line out just didn't sound the same. No matter what I did to the EQ on the PA, I cut all the high, I cut all the mids, I cut all the low, and it still wasn't there. I just couldn't get its voice to come out of the PA through the line out. The only way I could get its voice to come out through the PA was miking it up, and I was a bit disappointed with the line out, to be honest with you. It just didn't. It wasn't the sound of the amp. You know what I mean? It took my sound and made it really fizzy and high treble. And I was just like, oh, I don't like it. And I lowered all the high on the PA, and it was still there. And there was this fizz and this buzz, and I was just like, it's not there. And that's another negative, really, I find of the Katana, is that line out on the 100. I just don't like it. I mean, I'm sure some people have got it to work, and it's really, really cool. But for me, I've tried using it in a recording thing. It didn't work. I've tried using it for a PA live, and it didn't work. So that is another negative on my part for the Katana. It's just I just didn't like that fizz that the line out had, and I don't like the fizz that the 50-watt speakers got sometimes. Like, you know, it's not everywhere. It's normally, if you're playing chords on the 50, you don't hear it, but as soon as you go to kind of like solos, there's a fizz, and it's this frequency, and I don't like it. It kind of bugs me. So anyway, so yeah, that's Boss Katana, everybody. And like I said, but those two, I mean, you think about it, that's the only things I can pick. You know, and if I want to be really nitpicky, I wish they had made the Boss Katana look a bit more like a blues breaker, like the Next Tone amps. I love the look of the Next Tone. I wish they'd made it look a bit more like a blues breaker, because I love the blues breaker. Is like one of the classiest, awesome looking combos I think that's ever been made. And I wish they'd kind of like, you know, just, you know, done that. But, you know, that's me being nitpicky. So, but like, out of the entire amp, that's the only things I can really pick. Like I say, the fizzy problem is rectified by different speaker. You know, and the line out is rectified by just miking it instead of lining it, using the line out. So it's not like it's like, oh my god, it's totally not worth it, because it really is worth it. And I would happily go to a gig with the Katana and no pedals. You know, I would miss my wah-wah and I'd miss my DS2, but if I had to go to a gig and all I could use was the Katana, I wouldn't be upset. You know what I mean? I wouldn't miss anything. You know what I mean? Because I've got built-in effects, I've got delays, reverbs, choruses and stuff like that. I've got enough gain to stun a donkey with at 50 yards. I've got the volume. I've got the space fill. It's got the breadth. It's got the girth. So it's one of those amps where I'm like, yeah, I could happily, you know, if I was doing a gig with my Katana and my pedal board died, I could happily see out the rest of the gig just going straight in and not having pedals. You know, it's one of those amps, and I always feel that's kind of important. Is like, you know, if you're reliant on your amp, if you're just reliant on pedals, sorry, and your pedal board dies mid gig, and you don't know how to work your amp just straight in, you know, I always think that's a worry. That was something that kind of dawned on me a few years ago. Was like, I've got to be comfortable for any situation that might arise. Like, for instance, like I say, if my pedal board dies, I need to know that I can go straight into my amp and finish the set. I need to be able to rely on my amp and know how to dial it in, so I can do everything from my guitar that I need to do, and I don't have to worry about pedals. And the same thing goes with if the amp goes down, what am I going to do? Always have a backup amp. You know what I mean, just in case. But like if my pedal board went down, I could just take the lead out of the pedal board straight into the amp and dial it in, and in about a minute or so, I could be away again into the song. So, and I think that's really important. It's kind of like to know your gear like that way. And the Katana is an amp that I feel totally 100% comfortable with doing that. If my pedal board died, it's okay. I've got it. The amp I can plug my guitar straight into it and be a happy bunny for the rest of the gig without pedals. I can do that. It's one of those amps, and I think that's really important. So little nitpicks aside, the Boss Katana, I can't rave enough about it, how good it is. It really is not overhyped. It really is awesome. So that is definitely one of my favourite amps of all time. Okay, so moving along. Next guitar amp on the list is this gorgeous creature here. This orange monster that's sat behind my head. The orange CR120, everybody. The glorious orange CR120. I don't think I really need to say much about this amp, other than the fact it's absolutely stunning. It's probably the most expensive out of the three. It's definitely more expensive than the Katana. And I do prefer the head to the combo. The 212 CR120 combo does sound... I'm just going to put this guitar down. The 212 combo does sound very much the same, but not quite. You know what I mean? The head has something that the combo doesn't quite have. But anyway, the CR120, I can't rave enough about that amp. I love it to bits. I will always love it. It's one of those amps that will be with me until I'm gone. So, same with the Katana. I just love it to bits. I've used it so much in videos. I've used it for so many gigs. I've used it for recording. I've used it for different tones on recording and all sorts of different things. It's just, I just love it. I love it so much. And it's just so good. It's just so good. It really is so awesome. But, and here goes my, like I say, devil's advocate part of the CR120. I wish it was a single channel amp. Clean channel, just go away. As much as the clean channel is really good, for me, I feel it's the amp's weakest point. Because I find it a little bit too clinical, and it's not very... I don't find it very kind of it doesn't sing. It doesn't have a particularly pleasant voice about it. It's very clinical and clunky. And it can get a bit harsh if you're not careful. And I don't really like the way it breaks up sometimes. It's not a particularly nice breakup. It's a bit gnarly. Which is okay for certain things, but for me it's not really my kind of cup of tea. But, so if a clean channel went and it was just a dirty channel, the reverb, I reckon that'll do me. Again, it's one of those amps that if I'm doing a gig with the CR120 and my pedal board dies, I will go back to I can go straight into the amp, crank the gain, crank the volume, turn all the EQ to 0, and I can do the whole gig just amp and guitar. And I can do it all from the guitar. I don't need to have pedals. Like I said, I do miss my pedals if they're not there, but I can actually just do it like that. And I have done. There's been a few gigs where I've gone, I don't really want to use my pedal board for this. I remember doing a gig a couple of years ago where I was like, I don't really want to use my pedal board. And we were tight on space, so I thought, I'm just going to go straight into the CR120. And I just plugged straight into it with my Strat, and I was just like, whoa, okay. No channel switching, just on the dirty channel. I was just like, okay, yeah, that does so much. It was so cool. The only thing it did miss was a solo boost, but that's neither here nor there, really. You can kind of get away with that. But yeah, the clean channel I feel on the CR120 really kind of isn't the best channel. It's okay, but the dirty channel is perfect. It really is. There is not much you can't get out of that dirty channel. You can get from super, super clean to kind of bluesy stuff, classic rock, to full out singing lead. You know, I mean, there's enough gain in there, like I say, to stun a donkey at 50 yards. Bonk. You know, it really is just like unreal, absolutely unreal. So yeah, I can't rave about CR120 enough. Like I say, it is the more expensive one, and like I say, if you can't stretch to that, I'd go for Katana route or the amp I'm going to talk about in a minute, that you probably already know about. But like I say, I mean, I love it. I absolutely love it. It's and it looks cool as well. You know what I mean? The CR120 that looks cool. That looks cool. So I love it. I absolutely adore that amp. Like I say, just get rid of that clean channel. Keep it as a single channel amp, just with the dirty channel. Add a second volume so you can do volume solo boosts. Wow. I'm still waiting on the Mark II orange. You know, like I say, if you could, I'll tell you what would be cool. Okay, now I'm just gonna, I'm gonna dream a little bit about how to go next one up on the CR120. 2 dirty channels, 2 of these, one with a lower gain than the other. So keep that dirty channel as is, but have another dirty channel where the gain goes from super clean to very light, almost like AC/DC kind of overdrive. Not high gain, but that kind of clean, like AC/DC, Highway to Hell, Hell's Bells, kind of classic rock kind of tone. But it stops there. So gain on 10 is like AC/DC, and all the way down you got like, you know, Hank Marvin, and like, you know, pushing it up a bit further you got stuff like Mark Knopfler and Jeff Buckley, and then we're getting into kind of like John Frusciante territory, and then we're getting a bit further up into kind of like, you know, a bit more kind of bluesy, kind of like Jimi Hendrix kind of territory, and then kind of into kind of classic rock like AC/DC, kind of Thin Lizzy kind of sound. And then that's channel 1, and then channel 2 would be basically this channel again, but the gain picks up where channel 1 left off, so you can just kind of go even more to the point where you can get like Gary Moore sustain, you know what I mean? And then you can have like 2 volumes, so you can have a solo boost and like a regular volume, then also having kind of like, you know, just that reverb as well, and also maybe having inbuilt effects, because they had that on the LDX combo, and I really think they should have transferred the effects over to the CR120, but they didn't for some reason. I don't know why, but maybe they couldn't get to work. But I don't know. But that would make this amp even more perfect. It'd probably make it really expensive though. That's the problem. I don't know. But that's me kind of like, you know, throwing ideas out there to kind of like, you know, that I have actually dreamt about, like, you know, and I've sat there thinking about, like, you know, if like you could redesign the CR120, what would you do? And that's what I would do, is 2 channels, you know, kind of thing like that, and with a solo kind of like boost volume and stuff like that, and just certain little bits and pieces here and there. But other than that, you know what I mean, this thing alone, standalone, if you get rid of the clean channel, the standalone dirty channel is just absolutely stunning. There's nothing you can't get out of that thing. It's so versatile, it's unreal. I absolutely love it. And I say, you know, all these amps are solid state, but, you know, the Katana's digital, this is analog, you know. I'm going to talk about something at the end as well, which I'll get to. But yeah, so second amp on lip is the glorious CR120. I absolutely love it. And I don't play for it as much as the amp I'm about to talk to anymore, but I love it to bits. And it's one of those amps, like I say, that will be with me forever. I will never ever get rid of this amp. And if I have to get rid of that amp, something's gone wrong. You know what I mean? Something's gone wrong, and I'm in desperate need of money, basically. Yeah, and you know, that's hopefully that'll never happen. You know, touch wood. So anyway, so there we go. That's amp number 2. So amp number 3 now is, and I'm sure quite a lot of you've already guessed this. This is an amp that no matter what amp comes along, be it the Katana, be it the Orange, be it the PB Bandit, be it the Lab Series L5, be it Custom, be it Jet City, whatever. No matter what happens, no matter whatever amp comes my way that I love and I like, I always come back to dun, 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 the Marshall MG 100 HDFX. It's just my home. It's just my home. It really is just my home. And it is that amp where I have nothing bad to say about it. There is nothing this thing does that I don't love. I can get a clean tone that I want out of it. I can get an overdriven bluesy rock, classic rock tone out of it, and I can get a lead tone out of it that I love. I've also got effects. I can put delay, chorus, or flange on anything I want, and I've got a separate reverb. It's got an effects loop. It's got a line out. It's got FDD, which is awesome. The FDD switch is always on. It's just perfect. It's my perfect amp. It really is. The MG is. It really is my perfect amp, and I think it's because it was kind of like my third ever amp. The MG. It was my third amp. I just grew accustomed to it. You know what I mean? And I just love it. No matter what, it's one of those amps that if I'm gigging and my pedal board dies, I can go straight into this thing and not worry. But at the same time, I can go to a gig with the MG, a foot switch to go between the channels, and dial and to have effects on and off, and be happy. You know what I mean? I could just have that and be happy. I don't feel the need. It's one of those amps where if I don't have pedals, although I do still miss them, I don't miss them. If that makes any sense. But the MG is my perfect amp. It really is. This amp here, that amp there, the other one in the other room, my number one amp. They really are just like, that's me. That's my voice. And I always come back to it. Like I say, the Katana and the CR are some of my favourite amps in the world. But I always come back to the MG. It's my voice, if that makes any sense. Much in the same way as Jimi Hendrix had his Marshall Plexis. Much in the same way as John Frusciante's voice was a Silver Jubilee and a Marshall Major. Much in the same way as Mick Ronson's sounds was a Marshall Major, and Tony Iommi's sound is his Laney's and stuff like that. This is my amp. You know what I mean? It really is. It always has been that thing. And when I don't have it, there is always something missing. As much as I love my Katanas and my CR, and when I do gig with them, I'm happy, as happy as Larry. But who's Larry, Dave? Do you know him? No, I don't actually. I'm as happy as Larry, but there is something the MG gives me that those two don't, and I can't place it. I'm just very. The last gig I did was a trio gig, and I used this one. I used that one, and I basically had a half stack, and I was just like, that's it. It's the first time I've used an MG live in a long, long time. And I was just like, I just come back to it. No matter what happens, I always come back to my MGs. And it is the older ones. Like I say, I think this one's a 2000, and that's a 2007, I think. This is 2005. And my number one is 2004. Because I got it when it got it in 2004, I got it brand new. But they really are. Oh, actually, I do have one kind of hang up, but it's not really a hang up. But I'll talk about it in a minute because I don't actually mind. But I'll talk about that in a sec. But literally, no matter what I do with this thing, I love it. I love plugging pedals into it. It loves pedals. I love plugging straight into it. It's always inspired me. There have been times when I plugged into the Katana and I've plugged into the CR where I'm like, it's not doing it, and I'll come back to this and it's just there. You know what I mean? It's like this guitar. This guitar is full of music. It's absolutely full of music. Same with these amps. The MGs are just full of this. They're just full of inspiration to me, and I'm just so happy when I'm playing through them. It's just like that's me. I'm there. That's my sound. And it has been, it's been my kind of thing for ages, really. I mean, I've used MGs since 2004, and I always come back to them. I always come back to them. No matter what happens, I always come back to them. No matter what amp comes along that I love, like say the Katana or CR, I get dragged back to the MG, no matter what. And I've been recording a lot recently, and it's all been the MG. I don't feel the desire or the need to use another amp sometimes. If I get recording and the MG sounds the way I want it to sound and I can get the sounds I want out of it, I'm away, you know what I mean? That's it. So, and again, they're super, super cheap. I saw one for sale the other day for 70 quid, and I was like, ah! And then I realised I couldn't afford it because I just bought the Mark III Katana. So I was like, no! But I was like, Dave, you've got 3 of them. Calm down, man. It's not like you haven't got any of them. So I was like, okay, that's a very, very good point, Dave. But yeah, I literally, if I was really, really rich and money wasn't an option, I think I'd just have like a room full of MGs. Has anyone seen that picture of Yngwie Malmsteen where he's got like loads of Fender Stratocasters, tons of Fender Stratocasters, lent against like literally a wall of plexis? There's no cabs. It's just literally floor to ceiling plexis. And I'm just like, you're upset. He's obsessed with those amps. He's obsessed with Stratocasters and plexis. And I think I'd be like that, but my wall would be just like floor to ceiling MGs because I do love them so much. They just are amazing. And neither one of them sounds the same, but they all sound the same. If that makes any sense. This one sounds different to this one, but they both have a very similar voice. And because I'm a creature of habit, I like consistency in sound. I don't like it when I like to be able to turn my amp on and know what it's going to sound like and feel like. I don't like the idea of a variable sound. I don't like that at all. I like it consistent. So, and the MG gives me that in spades. But saying that, so does the CR and so does the Boss. And that's why they're my favourite amps, and they're the amps I'd recommend to anybody over anything. It's because of consistency. You plug into them and the sound you had last time is the sound you've got now. And that's, to me, that's really important because I don't really like tone searching. I know the sound I want, and once I've got it, I'm happy, and I don't feel the need to mess around with it. But if I have to go looking for it, I get bored very quickly. The Marshall Code being a classic example of that. I got a bit disenchanted with the code because it took me so long to dial in a sound that I liked, and it was just like, ugh. And it just took me such a long time, and I just got really disinterested in it. Whereas with the MG, it took me, when I first got my first ever MG, it took me like 5 minutes to dial it in, and I was like, that's my sound. Same with the Boss, same with the Orange. And once I've got my settings, they don't change. The setting I had on my Katana is still the setting I have now. When I first got it, you know what I mean? The setting I had on that when I first got it is still the setting I have now. Same with the CR and the same with the Marshall. The settings I have now have not changed. I just set it and forget it, which makes me very happy. And like I say, it's all about consistency of sound for me. I like that it's the same no matter what happens. Regardless of room size, room sound, whatever. I don't have to tweak anything. It's just always the same sound, no matter what happens. It's always. I don't have to go. Oh, this room's a bit bassy. I'll have to lower the low end and this, that, and the other. I don't have to do that. I can just set it, forget it, and play, and I don't have to worry about it. And I know it's there backing me up. So, yeah, it is my all-time favourite amp, the MG. It really is. It's just my home. It's my tonal home, if you will. And I'm sure we've all got an amp like that. I'm sure everybody's got an amp like that where they're just like, that's me. That is I am happy there. That's my sound. I'm away there. So that's mine. The MG. Another thing as well is the line out on these MGs is the best line out I've ever heard. When I record guitar, I use the line out. I no longer mic amps unless I'm using the CR120 or the Katana. But if I'm just recording, I just line out to the MG and just go straight into my my M box, and that's it. I don't use mics, and the sound that comes out the cab is the sound that comes out the line out. No ifs, no buts. It's the sound. You do have to pad it because the output of a line out is so strong. You do have to attenuate it, but yeah, because the line out's super strong. But the sound that the line out gives you is the exact sound of the amp. There is no difference between the sound that comes out of the cab and the sound that comes out of its line out, and that makes me so happy because I don't have to worry about mics on the cab. I can just take a quarter, just a jack lead out of that into the DI box to the PA, to the desk, and as long as it's attenuated, you don't have to worry about it. And it's just awesome. It's just awesome, you know. I just love it. I just love it. However, so again, let's devil's advocate this thing. There is one thing which, again, I have a little hang up I do have about the MG, is the way the MG originally looks. Although I do love it, I was recording the other night with a friend, and I just happened to glance back at my MG, which is sat at the other end of the room, my first ever MG. Excuse me. And I just happened to look at it and think, God, that looks cool. So it's not really a hang up, but there is a preference in there somewhere. But I do love the look of the original MG, but I do love this look more. And it's mainly because I think the Marshall Plexi is kind of the coolest looking amp in the world. I just love the Plexi so much. So my friend Andy, who makes these for me, I just like, you know, when I first got introduced to him doing these, I was just like, that's me done. Because I say my favourite looking amp in the world is the Plexi. You know, I just love the way Plexis look. I just don't like the variables of them, really. You know, being a valve amp, you know, kind of thing. Don't hate them, because one of my favourite amps in the world is a Plexi, you know, super bass, a 68 super bass. But yeah, that is the only thing really that I do is the way the original MGs look, you know, with the panel on top and then the Marshall logo below it. But it's a very small thing, you know, because like I say, I do look at it sometimes and go, that looks really cool, and then sometimes I'm like, I prefer the way the Flexis look, but I do look at the MG sometimes and go, that looks so cool. So cool. I'll do all of them. So yeah, and I say these things are really cheap. They are slated all over the internet and have been slated for years for being like, you know, one of the worst Marshalls ever made. Personally don't see it, personally don't hear it. Because I love them. I absolutely love them to bits, and I'd recommend them to anybody. So yeah, there we go, everybody. I've just realised I've spoke for a long time, so I'm gonna tie this video up now. So yeah, so they're my top 3 favourite solid state amps. So Boss Katana, Orange CL120, and Marshall MG100 HDFX. Not the new MG, although I do want to try the new MG Gold. I'm curious. Maybe I'll invest in one of them at some point as well soon, just to see. I'm curious. But the new MGs I didn't get on with at all. I thought they were really rubbish. But the older MGs, these ones, the HDFX, cannot rave enough about them. So yeah, they're my top 3 favourite solid state amps, and they're the ones I would recommend. They really are. I mean, I'd recommend any of those 3. They are absolutely stunning. Every single one of them is stunning. And coming quickly onto the thing of, like, you know, people saying, oh, you need to get a valve amp. No, I don't. I've had valve amps, and the thing is, I don't hate valve amps. There seems to be a bit of a misconception that because I use solid state, I hate valve amps. I don't hate valve amps. I love valve amps. Like I say, one of my favourite amps in the world is a 68 super bass that I played through an old hat. Just stunning. Absolutely one of the best amps I've ever played through in my life. But it was tonally up and down. One day it would sound brilliant, and you'd be playing it for 5 minutes, you're like, oh, this is so good. And then something would happen, and then it would sound rubbish. Or it wouldn't sound the same. And then you'd have to go trying to find that sound again, and you couldn't find it. So it wasn't very... And again, being a creature of habit and being kind of like one for consistency, it just didn't work for me. There have been other valve amps I've tried in the past as well, which I absolutely adored. There was the... I've tried... what's it called? Fender Princeton. Tweed Princeton. Stunning. Absolutely adored that amp. Absolutely done. It was a 50s one I tried, and I was just like, I started dribbling. That was amazing. A Selma. What was it? Zodiac? Was it Zodiac? I don't think it was the Zodiac. No, it wasn't the Zodiac. It was... I demoed it on the channel. It was the Selma... Oh, I don't remember what it was called. Mercury 5 or something like that. It was a Selma amp that I demoed when I was in Old Hat, and it was like a 15-watt combo. And it was just one of the best amps I've ever played and heard. It was just so gorgeous. It was amazing. And there's other amps like Jet City and other oranges as well. The OR15, I think, is one of the best amps in the world, the orange OR15. So I do love valve amps. It's just, for me, I don't like the inconsistency of valve. I like consistency of solid state and digital. And I like the way they the sound, like I say, when you turned it off, the sound you had when you turned it off is the sound when you turn it back on again. And I like the fact I don't have to go, take them to get serviced and get them kind of like, looked at, and I don't have to worry about blowing valves and fuses blowing or this, that, and the other. You know what I mean? Because I have had valve amps. I had a JSIM 800 and I also had a small box Plexi. And for the longest time, I tried to get that 68 Super Bass from Norman in Old Hat. I was like, can I just buy it and pay it off? I wanted to just, pay it off in installments, but he wasn't selling it, and I was like, don't. Oh, and that was another thing. Another amp I tried. It was a small box Plexi as well. That was stunning as well. Peter Frampton wanted that one in Old Hat, but that's a different story. But yeah, so I don't hate valve amps. It's just I prefer solid state. I prefer the consistency, and it's just what works for me and always has. So I just don't feel the need to go and buy a valve amp. You know what I mean? When I've got these free. You know what I mean? If that inspires me constantly, and it's just the sound that's in my head, and it just speaks and sings and breathes the way I want it to breathe, I don't feel the need to change. I am a creature of habit. Once I find something that works for me, I stick to it. And like I say, the MG is something I always come back to no matter what. So yeah, I don't hate valve amps. It does seem to be a bit of a pre-con thing. Some people think I do hate valve amps. I don't hate valve amps. I love valve amps. I just don't have any desire to own one. I really want to try a Lazy J, because my friend Ian, James Stewart, raves about them all the time. He raves about the Lazy J, and I really want to try that. Oh, and his amp as well. His Michael Landau Fender DeVille. Oh, it's stunning. Sounds amazing. But yeah, so yeah, I don't hate valve amps. I am a creature of habit. I love my solid states, and I always will. I was like, I will always go. I always come back to my MG. So I always come back to my MG. Anyway, so there you go, everybody. That's my top three solid state amps that I'd recommend. The Katana CR120 MG. Happy days. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, everybody. I'll see you again on Wednesday for Q&A. Like I said, I do apologise for the way I am. I hope I've been making sense, because I'm terrified I'm not making any sense. But hopefully, there's something in there. If you are on the lookout for kind of like a solid state amp, hopefully some of the factors I've spoke about will be able to kind of like sway you in which direction you kind of want. But like I say, the MG to me is like my perfect amp, because it does cleanish blues rock, heavy rocks, all sorts of stuff, and it just covers all bases. And it's got a line out, it's got reverb, it's got effects that are really good and usable, and I love it. The MG is my perfect amp, definitely. It's the amp I always come back to no matter what. As much as I love the CR and I love the Katana, I always come back to the MG and go, that's me. That's that's my sound. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, everybody. And like I say, I'll see you on Wednesday for Q&A. And yeah, and I'll see you again. Have a great morning, afternoon, good evening. I'm going to go and slowly drift off into madness, I think, because of lack of sleep. I do feel a bit delirious. Well, not delirious, I just feel exhausted. Like, mentally and physically, I absolutely like, ugh. So I'm just going to go and like refocus my brain and work on some songs. So, anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope there's been something. I hope it hasn't been too boring. I hope there's been something in there you can kind of take away if you're after kind of maybe one of these amps or something like that, and if you're after a solid state or a digital amp. So, yeah, I'll see you again very soon, everybody. I hope you have a great morning, afternoon, and good evening. And goodbye now. Thank you.